Welcome in, everybody, to this Kansas City Chiefs post-game live stream presented by Bleacher Report. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and I'm joined by my co-host, Joey Segura. And over the course of the next 25 to 30 minutes, we are going to break down the Kansas City Chiefs' 27-17 victory over the New England Patriots. A game that honestly was not as pretty as Chiefs fans would have liked to see, but a lot of stuff happened. I know that Joey might be a little bit more optimistic after this win, but personally, I can't help but feel like the Chiefs just didn't answer any of our concerns or questions about what this team has been over the past month and a half, and they somehow found a way to squeak out a pretty ugly win against the New England Patriots, who are using a backup quarterback in Bailey Zappi and also firing their head coach, Bill Belichick, at the end of the season. So I'm not super optimistic and thrilled with this win, but I get it. A win is a win in the NFL, so you got to take stock in that. But Joey, I mean, what are your thoughts after this 10-point victory against the New England Patriots on the road?
So going into this game, I think the way I kind of was viewing it is basically, I think we kind of I was hoping for a blowout, just for any form of momentum. I know we did not do the Bills game, or we did do the Bills game, but I think the worst part about the Bills game, besides the loss itself, is it felt like that game could set you up with momentum. If you won that game, especially with the way that play went down at the end, I think the entire narrative about our team would have changed for at least the time period. So I was hoping they could come out and really blow New England out and try to change that narrative, and they weren't able to. I don't think it's as ugly as you do. I think that New England scored 17 points. 14 of those came from terrible interceptions, that set them up with really, really good field positioning and didn't give the defense much to work with. And at this point, the problem is the wide receivers. It's been proven this run game is good no matter what. Shout out to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I know we ragged on him a lot to begin the year, but he looked pretty solid today. He looked good in the Bills game as well, so he's played well. He's done a great job in stepping up to be the starter now. But it's the receivers. Kadarius Toney with just a terrible drop that gave the Patriots 7 more points to make it a 10-point game. Sky Moore got bailed out by a holding call, so it didn't count, but it was a fumble there too. And I know you and I were talking about it off stream a little bit, but Mahomes is just done with Kadarius Toney.
Yep.
You can see it. We all knew he was. I think we just kind of assumed he was talking about it behind closed doors. But in the game, on the TV, we actually got to see what Pat was saying. And when you watch him, he says, I just effing said it, man. I just said it and said, God damn it, basically, is what he said. And so clearly he's telling these receivers what they need to do. The coaching staff is telling these receivers what they need to do. Either they're just not listening or they're not good enough to adjust. And that's just been the story of the season. And at some point, it's the discipline of the wide receivers. And I don't want to blame just one position group, but that's what it's become. The defense played great. The run game was relatively solid. Mahomes played well besides one probably bad interception. It's on the receivers for the most part at this point in time.
I think that's why I'm so negative coming out of this game that you did win, because the Chiefs didn't answer any of the questions or concerns that we had about those wide receivers. The Kadarius Toney tip pass that ended up being intercepted by the Patriots DB led to 7 points. That is just what we've seen time after time this year, where Kadarius Toney has hurt this team. Sky Moore got bailed out by that hold. You just said it. That should have been another turnover. Rashee Rice fumbled the ball. Rashee Rice had a great game, but he did fumble the ball and was somehow able to recover it. But again, the problems we've seen from these wide receivers time and time again this season have been happening. And that's why I think that, you won this game. You beat a Patriots team that, like I said, is going to fire their Hall of Fame head coach, Bill Belichick. They're on a backup quarterback. They've got no offensive weapons outside of Hunter Henry. And it's just like, do you want a cookie? Congratulations. You beat a really bad New England Patriots team that has basically packed it in. There were multiple times in this game that it just looked like Bill Belichick gave up. It was like 4th and 4 in the fourth quarter. They elected to punt instead of go for it when they were down by I think it was 3 scores at the time. And, when they got the ball back with 35 seconds left, they ran the play once. They ran it off once, and then they just kneeled it. This team did not care about this game. and you were only able to win by 10 points. And so I think that that's what's frustrating, is because when the Chiefs are going to play against a team that has a pulse, that can be a formidable opponent, I don't think they're going to fare very well, because the Chiefs continue to have the self-inflicted wounds, shooting themselves in the foot. And yeah, I mean, I guess they did play well in certain aspects today. They were able to drop 27 points, and they've not been able to do that in quite some time. But again, you got to look at the opponent that you were playing. New England is not very good. Defensively, they're not bad. They're actually top 3 in stopping the run, which is why Clyde didn't run the ball extremely well. He was only averaging 2.8 yards per carry. But Clyde looked good in the receiving game, and he caught a touchdown pass where I'm not even sure how a 5'7" man could jump that high to catch that ball. Great catch by Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and honestly, I think he might have been one of the bright spots in this game. But all of the things we've been complaining about, like Travis Kelce, looking slower, looking more banged up. He looked banged up. He dropped a touchdown pass in this game that he should have caught. Kadarius Toney, the drops continue. Sky Moore, Joey, I have a hot take. This might be hot. This might be not. But I think Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore need to be cut following this season. And it's not even, for me, it's a no-brainer at this point. Kadarius Toney hurts this team when he's on the football field, and Sky Moore has never been good. At least Kadarius Toney helped you win that Super Bowl last year. I guess Sky Moore did too. Sky caught a touchdown, but like Sky was with this team for an entire season and did nothing and had one good game. The Sky Moore experience has to be done. I'm tired of it. And I think that Kadarius Toney, he's got to be on his way out too, because these two just don't help the team. And if the Chiefs had anybody else on this roster, those two would be benched. They need to be disciplined for how poorly that they're playing right now.
I won't lie to you, and I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know how the cap works and everything. If they cut Kadarius Toney tomorrow, I wouldn't be upset. I don't know what he adds. For every good thing he does 2 things that are terrible and really hurt your team. I mean, on the tip pass that became an interception, he finally runs a good route and recognizes a soft spot in the defense. And what does he do? He tries to run without the ball in his hands and immediately basically hands the ball off to the Patriots. So that's the epitome of the Kadarius Toney experience. He does one dazzling play, and the very next, he's going to kill you and shoot the team in the foot. So I wouldn't even be upset if they cut him next week and you gave Richie James more of a shot. Richie James at least isn't costing this team costly penalties. And I wanted to call something out too. I think they said it on the broadcast. I don't know if you noticed it. The very first play when we got ball back after the Kadarius Toney interception, he lined up offsides. They obviously didn't call it, but he was offsides on that very first snap.
I didn't see that.
So it's mindless errors. And you have to imagine that Patrick Mahomes, he's a good leader. He's not going to say it to the media or anybody else. Come the moment this season is over, I guarantee you that he's going to arrive in Brett Veach's office and he is going to destroy that. And he is going to say, if you don't provide me with adequate, receivers, this is going to be a major issue. And I know we've touched on it before. One of the comments said, Kelce looks tired. He does. He just looks tired. He sounds drained. I think if you go out and you don't get enough receiving help, Kelce's going to say, I'm done. Why would I go and play another season? And you got to put yourself in a football player's perspective. He's a 2-time Super Bowl champ. He has his argument, and in my opinion, is the greatest tight end to ever play this sport. What else is he playing for? So why would he go out there to get double teamed every play when he can walk away from the game right now and he's dating the biggest celebrity on earth? He has enough money to never work a day in his life. He still has his body working well, and he has a career set up after football. If I'm Kelce, I'm saying the same thing to Veach. If you don't get more help to alleviate the pressure off of me, I'm not coming back because it's not worth it to me. So there's a lot at stake. I know, and cut MVS is the new comment we just got. This offseason, MVS has to be cut.
They're all gone.
They're all gone. All 3 of them will be gone. I'm almost certain. I'm almost positive, and I can almost say that for certainty they're going to be cut this offseason. We saw what Brett Veach did after that Super Bowl. Brett Veach does listen. Now, he made a bad move. he made a bad move going into this season and hoped Kadarius Toney would progress. That's not what happened. So I don't know if we really, I don't think we want to get into the offseason plans. This is a New England Patriots post-game reaction video, so I don't want to, change it into a blueprint on what we're going to do. But overall, get back to the game. I think the defense played pretty solid. Tranquil had a day. Chris Jones was wreaking havoc and basically had to be held every play. I think Mahomes played relatively well, and Rashee Rice is an amazing football player. I love watching him play football. And you have a cornerstone in the wide receiver room now that you can build with, who is probably at least going to be a solid wide receiver too for a playoff run in the future. But I don't think it's as frustrating a game as some Chiefs fans may believe it is. I wish they would have won by more, but realistically, to me, if it wasn't for Kadarius Toney, who I'm hoping after this game is not going to see as many snaps, it was a 17-point win, even though it says 10.
Here's the thing. I don't care about the final score. I could care less. The Chiefs won this game, and that's great.
Yeah.
I don't care that it was a double-digit win on the road. Congrats. 27-17. It's a solid win. I think the reason why I'm not over the moon with this win is because the same problems the Chiefs have had all season long with the wide receiver miscues, the errors, the drops have continued. And I think that maybe this game was the nail in the coffin for me that just shows that the Chiefs are not changing. I think this is what they are. This is what they're going to be. And unfortunately, while it would be smart to maybe part ways with a guy like Kadarius Toney or Sky Moore, the Chiefs can't do that. They have to keep these guys on the roster until the season is over. They have no one to turn to. I mean, the Chiefs tried benching guys like MVS or taking away some of his snaps, and then it brings guys like Kadarius Toney to the front of the line, and he can't produce better than MVS. So it's like all of these wide receivers in one way or another hurt this team. It's just pick your poison. Who is going to hurt it worse? Yep. So I think that's what's the most frustrating. And at this point, I don't know who you should turn to, because outside of Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce, you have a bunch of dumpsters on this offense. Like, they're not going to do anything. And so you can't feed Rashee Rice like you feed Travis Kelce all the time, because an NFL defense is going to take notice. If you play in a playoff game against a playoff team, they're going to double Rashee Rice or double Travis Kelce, and it's going to make guys like Kadarius Toney or Sky Moore step up and make a play. And quite frankly, they're not capable of making plays. Or if they do make a play, it's very quickly going to get negated. And one other thing, outside of all the drops and miscues, the Chiefs have to be the most penalized offensive unit in the NFL. I don't know what it is, man. It's either Jawan Taylor or somebody else on that offensive line, or it's holding, or there was an OPI call on Rashee Rice early on in the game, which is kind of BS. He just ran into a Patriots defender as he was trying to run his route. But really quickly, I wanted to go back to a point that you made about Patrick Mahomes being fed up and done with his wide receivers. He's been done for a long time. I think last week, the outburst against the refs was just an outlet for him to get out some of his frustration. None of that, in my opinion, was directed at the refs. All of that was a wide receiver buildup that he just had to explode on. And I think that Kadarius Toney tip that went intercepted, I think that is just, again, showing the buildup is starting to get released. And that's not a good thing. But in the past, we've seen great quarterbacks like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning go to their wide receiver, or there's a famous clip of Peyton Manning yelling at Jeff Saturday. Great quarterbacks can yell at their, teammates to invoke better play. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to have to start to do that. I understand he's a great leader. I think that he is a great leader and somebody that has a lot of trust in that locker room, as he should. But guess what? If he wants to maybe take the step, he's going to have to get in some of these wide receivers' faces. I remember even a couple of years ago, Mike Evans got screamed at by Tom Brady. Tom Brady's not afraid to yell at a wide receiver. And I think that Patrick Mahomes needs to get to that level, because nobody is holding these wide receivers accountable right now. If you make a mistake, guess what? Andy Reid's not going to bench you. You're back in the game on the next play, and you're going to get a chance to try to make up for your mistake. And more often than not, that does not work out. So it's like somebody has to hold these wide receivers accountable. If it's not going to be Andy Reid and Matt Nagy, it's got to be Patrick Mahomes. And so I would like to see Patrick Mahomes maybe get a little bit more vocal on the sideline and start to tell some of these wide receivers that, hey, you're costing us right now. Shake it off and let's go do this thing.
I agree. I'd love to see that. And I wonder how much of that is happening behind closed doors or what it is. I mean, because it's frustrating. And it just seems like with the way like MVS had his interview about 2 weeks right before the Bills game occurred, he just kind of sounded like he didn't care. And and when I say that, I don't want this to be taken out of context. I really believe the 95% of this Chiefs team cares. They want to right this ship. They all want to win. They're getting paid, and you get more money and you get more success, more things, more personal success if your team is good. But when you watch a guy like MVS in his interview and he takes no accountability for his struggles, he takes no accountability for the fact that he dropped a perfect ball that Mahomes threw to win an Eagles game, even though Mahomes in the press conference blamed himself. He said, I probably could have thrown that ball a little bit closer to his body, a little bit tighter. It was not Patrick's fault.
No.
Patrick, Kadarius Toney in the first game of the season blew it where we had a chance at the first down and he just dropped the football. Last game, Kadarius Toney did this. Kadarius Toney has shot us time and time again in the foot, and that is just the overall way that he's played the game. That's been the outcome almost every time he's played. And at this point, I can't think of a single player hurting a Chiefs team more that was not a quarterback in recent memory. I mean, obviously, D Ford lost us again. And I don't want to say lost us because there's more than just one play at the end of the game. You know what I mean? If we had played better and scored earlier against Buffalo, it doesn't come down to that. But still, sorry, Kadarius Toney is struggling. And the fact that they haven't benched him, that they haven't gotten in his face, it seems like I would have enjoyed to see Pat, instead of going to the bench and saying, dang it, man, I told him that, I just said that, go over to Kadarius and do it. Because Kadarius has taken acceptability. I'm going to give Kadarius credit there. He doesn't just play off what he's done and the mistakes he's made. But at a certain point, accountability doesn't overcome the mistakes that you make.
Yeah.
You get one or two passes where it's like, okay, you know what? Okay, man. He's done this time and time again. He and Sky Moore have both done this. And kind of as we said, the trio of Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling are here next season. I will be shocked, completely shocked. And not only is that, it's going to improve us at the end of the day, but it's going to hurt these guys long-term as well. Because if you're not successful with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes,
you're done.
You know, like a lot of teams are going to be nervous. So it's going to be interesting to see everything that happens. And it's a good win. I feel a little bit better about this team, at least for the week right now, for this next week. But, it's going to be an interesting offseason. And I think that's what we've been echoing the last couple of weeks is it feels like this is the kind of season where we know how it's going to end. And I don't want to be pessimistic, but odds are it's going to come down to a divisional game where we're playing another good AFC team. And there's miscues in the wide receiver group, and it costs us the game. And that kind of feels like where this is trending. Obviously, I hope I'm absolutely wrong. I want everybody to be able to come back to this and say I'm an idiot for it. So, but it's just kind of felt like the only thing we've had to comfort us a little bit in the last couple of weeks, really 4 or 5 weeks, is the fact that the offseason's coming soon and we're going to be able to make moves.
Guys, it's week 16 of the NFL season, and the Chiefs look just like they did in week 1. And that is not what a good team, a team that could win the Super Bowl, does. And that's why I think that you have to be a little bit pessimistic, because this Chiefs team is not good enough right now. I understand that they're 9-5. Guys, I mean, they're very close to being, on the bubble. I mean, the AFC has gotten a lot tighter, and the Broncos are gunning for the AFC West. And you needed to win this game just to keep in line for winning the AFC West. But this team is not good enough to win a Super Bowl right now. They're not good enough to win a playoff game right now, in my opinion. I think that they're going to have to do a lot. And again, it comes down to them fixing the mistakes. And every week we hear the same thing that, we're going to fix it. We're going to get better. I mean, Travis Kelce says it every week on his podcast. And at the end of the day, nothing changes. It's the same thing week after week after week. And that's why I think Chiefs fans need to tailor their expectations, because this Chiefs team isn't good enough to win a Super Bowl right now. And honestly, they probably won't be good enough to win a Super Bowl. A lot would have to go right. The wide receivers would have to do a complete 180. And let's face it, guys, the Chiefs do not have the unit at wide receiver to make that change. You can only lean on Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice for so long, and I think that eventually that's going to run out. And I hate to speak like that because we have Patrick Mahomes, we have Andy Reid, we have the best tight end to ever do it. But at the end of the day, it just feels like something's off, and it just almost feels like a Super Bowl hangover. Because, yeah, this team is 9-5, and they're probably going to make the playoffs, but it just does not feel like the Chiefs team of old. And I think that's why most of Chiefs Kingdom doesn't feel really good about the state of this team right now, and they shouldn't feel very good about the state of this team right now because we haven't seen any improvement. If the Chiefs came out of this game, even won it 27-24, but they had no drops, they had no turnovers, and they had no penalties, I would feel fantastic because the Chiefs defense has shown over the last 16 weeks that they're an elite unit. The Chiefs defense is good. And so, yeah, if they gave up 24 points, I'd be a little bit confused, but the Chiefs defense has not been the problem this year, and they will not be the problem this year. It's been the wide receivers, it's been the offense, and the offensive line was not great today either. But I just think that the Chiefs are stuck right now, and until we see some form of improvement and them limiting at least some of the mistakes, this team is going to have a very hard time getting out of the wild card round.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, and it's just kind of frustrating to watch, I think, because we've seen it every week. This is just a consistent theme. And we said it, I think you and I kind of lost hope a couple of weeks ago, probably about a month ago, where we finally just said, once we were about, I want to say 8 or 9 games into the season, I think it started to set in. This is probably just the team that it is. And this is the offense. And it sucks because, like I said, this might be the best defense Mahomes is ever going to get to play with. And it's frustrating to watch them basically squander it because they thought that Kadarius Toney was going to have a chance to be a wide receiver one, and clearly he was not. I also want to cut Veach some slack. I think that people who get on him too much are a little delusional in a way because, yes, he made a very big mistake, and I agree with that. But we wouldn't have Patrick Mahomes if Brett Veach wasn't here. So let's just chill out a little bit. The positives from the game, I'm going to try to focus on those more than the negatives. The negatives are the same things we've been saying over and over again. And it's just that the receiving core is struggling. But the running backs were pretty good. Clyde is great for Clyde. He's basically building up tape for the next team that wants to sign him this offseason. So that's great for Clyde to get that. The pressure, we're getting to the quarterback. Snead looked a little strange today. I don't think he was as good as he has been in prior weeks. Still a great game by Snead for the most part, but definitely, was a little bit worse than I think what we had seen. But I think at this point, just take it week by week. And it's the first time in 5 years with Mahomes as a starter that we're not going into the playoffs just assuming this is going to be an AFC championship appearance. You know what I mean? So now it's kind of just take it week by week. This team has Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. They could get hot the last, this could be the beginning of their last 5 games. They go out, somehow you win 8 in a row. You run the table. But I think that they really need to finish strong. The quarterbacks that they have left on their schedule are not good quarterbacks. You're playing the Chargers back up and a couple of the bad teams. You get to play O'Connell again. So these are all winnable games. These are games that you should win. And they just need to go out and take advantage. And if you can finish the season strong, get some momentum. I understand that the competition might not be as good as we would maybe want it to be against some of these teams, but you could still have a chance to win out and you could go 12-5 to finish the year, which would be huge.
I almost wonder if the Chiefs defense realizes how bad the wide receivers are, and maybe come playoff time, they take it to another level and can step up and maybe hold teams to sub 10. I know that's maybe crazy to think, but man, maybe when the lights are the brightest, the Chiefs defense steps up and says, hey, we understand the limitations that our offense has with the wide receivers. They're trying their best. We know the kind of unit that we have, and we know that we can shut teams down. And maybe they turn it up, and maybe this defense goes like 2012, 2013 Ravens defense. Who knows? But I do think that defensively they've been fantastic. They've been fantastic all year. I don't expect that to change. The magic number for this Chiefs offense every week this season has been 25 points. Can you score 25 points? If you can score 25, you will win the football game. And so that's going to be what I'm looking at in the playoffs. Can the Chiefs get to 25? In the first half, the Chiefs scored, 14 points. And so I wasn't feeling super confident that the Chiefs were going to get to 25. They got to 27, but I still feel like they left a lot on the table. The offense didn't really click in the second half, or at least in the fourth quarter. I thought they could have played better. And so defensively, you're fine. I really don't have any complaints from the defense. You played really well. The points that the Patriots were able to score was because the offense gave the Patriots offense a short field. So I don't really have any complaints from the Chiefs defense. They hit guys hard. They really turned it up in the second half. And so I don't have any complaints. I think, again, it's going to come down to, can the offense execute at a higher level? And, man, this team is sorely missing Isaiah Pacheco. Isaiah Pacheco needs to be running back to this team because we need him ASAP. And hopefully he can provide a spark for this team. I don't know the status on Mecole Hardman. Hopefully he comes back soon from IR. He might be done for the season. I'm not too sure. But I think that he could come back come playoff time. But it's all hands on deck right now. And the Chiefs are going to have to work out a lot of stuff on offense. The Chiefs did do one thing offensively, though, that I really liked in today's game. They had a little screen pass to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Then he was able to go for like 40 or 50 yards downfield. That is genius play design. In my opinion, you need to run more of those with Jerick McKinnon. And if you can do that, it's going to open this offense up a ton. And one thing that the New England Patriots did a lot back in the day with Tom Brady and James White is the good old-fashioned dump-off pass, a little screen pass to the running back in the flat, and he was able to just get blocking in front of him and get a ton of yards upfield. Why are we not doing that with Jerick McKinnon? I think the Chiefs have got to explore that opportunity because I'm telling you, on first or second down, he can get you about 7 or 8, and if he gets good blocking in front of him, he can get you like 19 or 20. So I would really like to see the Chiefs do more in the screen game with their running backs. And if they can do that, it might add some yards to this offense because the wide receivers just aren't trustable right now.
Definitely not. And on that play where Clyde had a kind of screen pass, that was one of the most fun plays I've seen in a long time. Yeah. You had Joe Tooney, Creed Humphrey, and Trey Smith booking it. I mean, booking it out there. And they formed a wall for him, a moving formation. And it was so great to see. And like you said, I think if you run that for McKinnon, that's even crazier. I think McKinnon and Clyde did great on it. He did probably about as good as we could have asked anybody else to do. So I definitely agree. I think the positive of getting Isaiah Pacheco back is that you're going to get a jolt of energy. I mean, that's what he does best is if think about the Super Bowl, we're down 10, he comes out of halftime and he really gets the drive going. I mean, he kind of gets a big gain and he celebrates like he does. And it gets this offense kind of pumped up. It gets the energy back up there. And that's what they're missing. I think it almost just they kind of look defeated sometimes. I mean, and it's hard to blame Mahomes and Kelsey. I mean, every time they show Kelsey on the camera, man, he just looks like he's so depressed. And you can't blame him because he's doing everything he can to win. And so is Mahomes. And you got guys like Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore and also Marquez who I feel like they don't take it as serious as they do. And that they're not made for this. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. They're decent NFL players. I suppose that they were a wide receiver 4 or 5 maybe, but that's not the scenario we're in. And so it's frustrating for them more than anything else. And hopefully that turns around a little bit. You just got to finish this season strong. Take it game by game and let's keep rolling. Try to get into this play. Make sure we lock up the division first. Let's get 2 more division wins against the Chargers and Raiders. And that way we can have some more breathing room as well going into the playoffs. But I think once you get into the playoffs, it's anybody's game. The season's over. The season's behind us. It just becomes about this one game. And hopefully that changes their mindset. I think, like you said, with the defense, I think it really can. So hopefully that's what happens, but we're not going to make bets on the Chiefs making it deep in the playoffs right now at all. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And the Chiefs do have a pretty favorable last 3 games. You get to play the Raiders, you get to play the Bengals, and you get to play the Chargers, all with backup quarterbacks. So you can definitely run the table and definitely finish this season at 12-5. It's not going to be easy because the Chiefs have not made any game look easy this season, but they do have what it takes to run the table, win out. And like you said, once they get to the playoffs, it's anybody's ball game. It's a brand new season. And if it shows anything in years prior, the Chiefs excel in this new season, in the postseason, better than any team in the NFL. So I'm going to hold out hope for that. But like you said, until the Chiefs make some major changes and, look a lot different, it's going to be hard to predict this team goes far in the playoffs. But let's take it game by game. The Chiefs were able to win a hard-fought, good win on the road against the New England Patriots by a final score of 27-17. I think that does it for the Bleacher Report post-game show. I've been your host, Michael Darcy, joined by Joey Segura. Again, the Chiefs won this game in Foxborough by a final score of 27-17. The Chiefs face off against the Las Vegas Raiders on Christmas. Should be a good one. We'll talk to you guys next time. Go Chiefs.